ロボ忍者デザイン
Hey, what's up? It's your gamer guide Nate with Robo Ninja Design. Today, we're taking a closer look at the Optimist personality archetype. In case you're new to this series, we're creating personality archetype character sheets based on the Enneagram to help inform our roleplay for tabletop RPGs. This is episode 2 in the series. There is an episode 0 that takes a deep dive into this whole project and how it all started. So check that out if you're so inclined. At the end of this episode, I'll tell you how you can get your filthy mitts on this epic tier role-playing resource. Without further delay, let's dive into the Optimist. The Optimist is a one-wing 9, and so the 1 brings the energy of the perfectionist, the attention to detail, and the harsh inner critic. And the 9 brings the energy of being real chill and relaxed and just wanting everyone to get along. It's that high value on people. So there is a real battle between the two aspects of this personality, one being perfection and the other one being everyone needs to get along. Just a note on the numerics here, they are numbered from 1 to 9, 1 being low and 9 being high in each of these 6 categories. First off, we have honesty and humility, and they're going to get a 7 in this score. This has to do with fairness, avoiding manipulation, being unelevated by status, and uninterested in luxury and wealth. And they get docked from having a bit of a higher score because of the unelevated status. The Optimist can have a little bit of an elitist mentality when it comes to dealing with other people, so they can't see themselves being better than other people sometimes. After that, we have emotionality, and they're going to get a very low score here of a 3. And this means they are not going to be prone to being moody or overly emotional. They're not going to overly emotional respond to events or experience a lot of the negative emotions that they're going to show. So with that 9 energy that's happening here, the Optimist will tend to become reclusive, shut down a little bit, and distance themselves to deal with a lot of the negative stuff that's going on. Extrovertedness is next, and they're going to get also a 3 in this score as well. They're going to be slightly less outgoing and enjoy people's company, which is kind of funny because they are actually a bit more popular than the Advocate, which is also the 1 base as well. So even though they don't enjoy being around people quite as much on the average, they will be more well-liked. On to agreeableness, and they are going to get an 8 in this score. It's a very high score because they will be very kind, sympathetic, warm, considerate, and empathetic. After that, we have conscientiousness. This is a 9 in this category. They are very careful planners. It's the highest conscientiousness of any of the archetypes. They'll be very dependable, organized. They will take obligations very seriously, and they'll be very, very self-disciplined. Last up, we have openness to experience, and that score will be a 6 here. And the 6 sub-aspects of this are active imagination, aesthetic sensitivity, emotionally aware, adventurousness, intellectual curiosity, and challenge authority. And this is just going to be slightly above average for the most part. On to backstory beats now. This is kind of what the Optimist's childhood might have been like. So very early on, they developed an eye for detail. They were highly focused as a child, and the reaction formation begins. The reaction formation is this idea that what feels good is pushed down and suppressed. This idea that children like the taste of sweets, but they're like, well, they're not good for me because they'll rot my teeth. So then that's kind of the start of the harsh inner critic. It's controlling their impulses and pushing back against that. The 3 states of the Optimist are Paragon, Standard, and Deplorable. This is the same for all the archetypes. This is the way I have set this up. Paragon represents the highest functioning, best adapted version of this personality. Standard is what you're going to see most commonly among all people, and deplorable is when this character is kind of at their lowest point. When in the Paragon state, they will have increased focus on what is right instead of what is wrong. They're going to hone in on these are the things that are going well. They will be able to quickly take action and remain engaged during times of difficulty instead of retreating. They will easily build strong relationships with others, and they will diminish that harsh inner critical voice. In the standard state, the optimist avoids conflict, tries to improve the world while maintaining relationships because those relationships are very important to the optimist. Generally, they'll be relaxed, but will also disconnect as a way to deal with stress and negative emotions. They tend to view the world through the lens of an idealist, and while that on the surface sounds really good, the dark side of the idealist is that they are always focused on how this could be better. In an ideal world, things would work this way. So it's not always a positive thing. In the deplorable state, the optimist is going to have analysis paralysis. They're not going to be able to make decisions. They're going to also procrastinate a ton. They're just going to keep refining their plans and really have a hard time accomplishing anything. They will self-isolate and detach to deal with their negative emotions and their negative state. And they will tend to act passive-aggressively with others when they do interact with others. While some of the other characters in the deplorable zone, some of the other archetypes, kind of sound like they would be a really good base for a villain, to me, this doesn't really ring very true for this, because the optimist really becomes ineffective and isolates themselves. Moving on to the final column here, we have values. The optimist really values planning, etiquette, systems, and structures. The system and structures are important because that is a way that they can use existing scaffolding for them to achieve their goals. Social justice is very important to them, as well as relationships. So there is the bit of the dichotomy here of they want to make change, but they also want to keep everybody happy. And that's where a bit of the dual nature enters into the optimist archetype. The optimist fears misspeaking, so they're going to be very careful and measured with what they say, how they say it, and who they say it to ensure that they don't damage relationships. They do not enjoy social conflict with others because they put such a high priority on keeping the peace. Socially, the optimist will be a very careful speaker because, as I said before, they want to make sure that they're not creating rifts with people they care about. They are very well liked by others, but they don't always enjoy being around other people because of their introverted nature, which I think is a little bit funny. People want to be around them, but they don't want to be around people all the time. The optimist shows care by fulfilling duties. They take on a charge and they fulfill it, and that's the way that they communicate that they care about the people who they are providing for. The quirks of the optimist are they tend to speak with a purpose, as I've talked about in the last 2 points here. As a hobby, they may tend to journal or find a way to keep track of their plans. This will help them kind of solidify things and allow them to move forward and stay kind of in the present moment a little bit more. Optimists tend to use all the time given to them for specific tasks. If they have a day to do something, they'll take the full day. If they have a week, it'll take the full week. Optimists can be a bit sarcastic, and this is a way that they can communicate to others what they're not impressed with without being overly direct. It's kind of that passive-aggressive sort of thing that we touched on before. and they can be reclusive. So when dealing with negative emotions, they tend to recoil. The recommended classes for the Optimist are the teacher or instructor, and this has a lot to do with their want of social change. The monk or druid, I selected these due to their kind of lone wolf nature. You would kind of think of a druid being out there on their own, and a monk kind of wandering the land by themselves. They don't always need that constant companionship. They do care about their relationships, but they don't need to always be around people. An emissary or a priest, and these are people that you could trust with to send away to complete missions of faith or governmental missions, basically. And all of these would be a good fit for fulfilling the why of the Optimist. Are you an optimist, or do you know an optimist? Let me know in the comments below. When this series is complete, you'll be able to get a compiled premium version of all 16 of these archetypes in PDF form. But if you don't want to wait, you can follow the link in the vid description below. Leave a like if you've enjoyed this, it really does help the channel. Subscribe for a +1 to your wisdom modifier. I want to thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I also want to thank Carl Casey of White Bat Audio for the background music on this one. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you in the next one.
ロボ忍者デザイン